Hello, and this time we're looking at conversion rates, and it's quite a straightforward thing to do, convert between two things. It's just a case of timesing or dividing. As long as you have the conversion rate written out, then if you want to turn one into the other, then you just say, well, how do I turn this number into that number? By timesing and dividing, and then do the same to your values that you have. And if you have nice things like this, where it's one of something, like 1 kilo and it's about 2.2. They've rounded it, it's not precisely, but if you've got it written like that, 2.2 pounds. If you've got a number of kilos and your conversion rate starts with a 1, then it's very straightforward. Turn 1 into 2.2, you just times by 2.2. And if you've got a number of pounds, because this conversion rate has the 1 in it, you know you can just divide by 2.2 and it'll convert just like that. The difficulty is when you've got a conversion rate which hasn't got a 1 on either side. So the classic is that 8 kilometers is 5 miles. And there's two ways you can do this. You can either cancel it down. So you could cancel that down, divide both sides by 5 and say 1.6 kilometers is 1 mile. So as long as you divide both things by the same amount, so divide by 5, get a 1, divide by 5. You could have done it divided by 8 and divided by 8. I just don't know the answer to 5 divided by 8 as well as I know 8 divided by 5. And then you can just do the conversion. Divide by 1.6 and times by 1.6. Or you can just do it in 2 stages. So if you don't want to do the... Hang on, let's get rid of all that. If you don't want to convert it down to 1, just do it in 2 stages and say, okay, well, how do you turn 8 into 5? Well, first, divide by the 8 to get rid of that, and then times by the 5. Or the other way, divide by the 5 to get rid of that, and times it by the 8. You're still going to 1, because that, when you divide by the 8, it doesn't change the system. It's just how you think about it. Is it easier to think about it in 2 steps, or to cancel it down and look at it in 1 step? And it's also the same if you've got decimals like this. If you've got 1 yard is approximately equal to 0.9 meters, just because that's a 0.9 doesn't mean it changes how you times it. It's the 1, yeah? If you're turning 1 into a different number, you times by that number, so times by 0.9, and to turn it back into 1, you do the divide by 0.9. So it really is a matter of if you've got it with one of the numbers as a 1, you multiply to get the non-1 and divide to get back. And if you've got it in 2 numbers, you just either do it in 2 stages or cancel it down to have a 1 in the first place. So once you've got your conversion rate, as I say, the conversion rate tells you what to multiply or divide by to go between them, and then you apply that to your own question, to your own values. So you don't need to work out a new conversion rate each time. It's whatever the conversion rate was, you'd apply the same one each time. So let's have a look at the examples. In London, we've got potatoes cost this many per pound. Here, they cost this much per kilogram. In which city are potatoes better value for money? So the problem is they're in different units of money and in different units of weight. So we need to convert one or other to the same amount. So I'm going to turn the euros into pounds, first of all. So from pounds into euros, that's 1 to 1.15, but we're going back from euros into pounds. So this is divide by 1.15. So that's what the conversion rate tells us to do. I'm going to do 1.48 divided by 1.15. So bring my calculator in. 1.48 divided by 1.15 is 1.2, well, let's round that up, 1.2. Well, actually, let's not round it up because we might get some more rounding later on. So let's keep it to, let's say, 4 decimal places. That's going to be 1.28, and then it's going to be 70 because that 5 is going to round it up. Okay, so that's how much it costs in pounds per kilo. But now we need to make these the same amount. We need to change the per kilo into per pounds, or the per pounds into per kilo. Okay, so if 1 kilogram is 2.2 pounds, then that's per kilogram, or this is per kilogram, this is per pound. We need 2.25 of these in order to turn it into a kilogram. Now, if we just applied the same thought of, oh, well, to convert pounds into kilos, then we would divide by 2.2. That's what we would do here to turn that into 1. But we're not going to do that. We're going to times by 2.2. So if that's confusing, it's because it's per. If you're converting the unit and it's a division unit, I don't know if that doesn't make sense, but if it's a unit that has been divided, yes, and that's what per means, per pound, you've worked it out as price divided by the weight. And the fact we've divided by the weight means when we do the conversion, we've got to do the opposite conversion. So instead of doing divide like we normally would to turn 2.2 into 1, we're going to times it. Or, like I said, if you just think about it in terms of making them the same, how do you make a pound up to a kilogram? Well, I need 2.2 pounds to match the kilogram, so I'm going to scale this up. So I'm going to do 0.45 times 2.2 to make them both the same. And this gives us 0.99. So I didn't need to round that, so I didn't need to be so accurate with that because they're quite far apart. So obviously this one is a smaller value. So for the same weight, that's a kilo, this is scaled up to a kilo. For the same weight of potatoes, it's going to cost you 99 pence in London, but it's going to cost you £1.29 in Dublin. So it's cheaper in London. Same sort of question here, it's just in money conversions this time. The exchange rate in London is £1 to this many euros, and the exchange rate in Berlin is €1 to this many pounds. You might think, well, surely it should be the same but backwards, but that's not always the case. If we just try that, if we scale the euros down to a pound, you divide by 1.15. If we do 1 divided by 1.15, oops, we don't get exactly 88 pence for a euro. And this is a couple of things. This could be different places can have different exchange rates. And so buying your holiday money from different, if you go to the co-op or if you go to the travel agent or somewhere else or the bank, they might give you, they will have different exchange rates. So shopping around for the best price is something that you can do, but also they have commissions on it. It costs money to convert that money. That's how they're making a profit, is that they charge you. They don't give you, if a pound is worth €1.12. Hang on, is that the other? Yeah. So if you want to buy a pound, then rather than €1.12, you have to give them €1.15, and they keep that extra 3 euro cents as their sort of conversion fee and give you a pound. But the other way, if you bring back your pounds and want them back into euros, again you're going to have to pay more pounds for slightly more than the worth of your money in euros, so that they get that little bit of profit to keep their business going. So anyway, that's why these might be different, but let's see what the question wants us to do. Angela wants to change some pounds into euros. In which of these cities would you get the most euros? Show you working out. Well, actually it's a much more straightforward question, and we've kind of already done it. If we convert these both to be the same way round, so let's just see which way around it is. She wants to change some pounds into euros. So this says £1 is worth this much. We need to turn this into 1 for a pound. So let's write it the other way. 0.88 pounds is €1. And we want to scale this up to £1 and scale this up the same way. So what do you times by to turn 0.88 into 1? Well, you don't. You divide it by 0.88. Okay, because you always divide the number to get to 1 and times 1 to get the number. So we're going to divide that by 0.88, which means we do the same to the other side and divide by 0.88. So get the calculator again and say 1 divided by 0.88 is 1.1364. Okay, so if you go in with £1 in London, you get €1.15, whereas if you go in with £1 in Berlin, you're only going to get €1 and possibly 14 if they're kind and they round it up. So again, in London, you're going to get more euros for your pound. Hopefully that all makes sense. You've got to think about each question for a moment. You can't just dive in and think, what am I converting? If it's just a straight, here's the conversion rate, go for it, then yes, you can just times and divide. But watch out for things that are divided. Yes, if you're converting speeds and it's miles per hour, then when you're converting the time, don't just multiply hours to become minutes. You've got to divide, because if it's divided, it goes the other way. So watch out for that. And then you've got to read the question very carefully. What exactly are they asking you to do? Is it just scale the conversion rate into a different number, scale the non-1 into 1, do the same to the other, or are you actually transferring one unit into another and then possibly again into another one? Read the question carefully. Any questions, pop them in the comments. Otherwise, ta-ra for now.